Harriet Tyler was a leading attorney in the area. She was sitting in her office talking to Paul Grimm, whose services she'd used in the past. She was always pleased with how he conducted himself and how complete his reports were. Paul was a private investigator. Harriet said, "This is very hard for me to ask for because I want you to check up on my husband. I have had several people tell me that they saw him with various young girls. I just want to know what he is up to. I am hoping it is just something harmless, but I want to be sure. Today is Friday, you can start on Monday. You know where we live, so you shouldn't have any problem catching him when he leaves." They finished their business and Paul left. Harriet sat there and thought about Doug, her husband of 9 years. He had been a store manager in an auto parts store, then it was sold to a larger chain and he was replaced. He hadn't been able to find work since then. He always was a devoted husband and she hoped that hadn't changed. It had been just after lunch when her secretary told her she had seen him at the Golden Skillet with a young girl. Her secretary said they were holding hands a lot. She wanted to trust him, but she had her suspicions. That night when she asked him what he did all day, he told her nothing important, that he mostly just goofed around all day. She asked him where he ate lunch and he said he had a hamburger at a drive-in. Later when they were sitting relaxing, she said, "I got a new client today. A woman whose husband is cheating on her. She is getting a divorce, but if it was me I would figure out a way to punish him worse than that. I don't have any sympathy for a man who cheats on his wife." Doug said, "Cheating has been going on since the dawn of time. It is never going to go away." She icily told him, "If you ever cheat on me, I'll take you for everything I can. I will punish you in ways you can't imagine. Do I have to spell them out?" He assured her that she didn't have to spell them out. That night she was quieter than usual in the bedroom. She thought about maybe calling Paul off, then decided that she had to know for sure. The weekend was quiet and Harriet was reserved for the whole weekend. Doug had seen her like that before, so he didn't think any of it. Monday morning Paul was parked a ways down from the driveway when Doug pulled out in his red Corvette. Paul followed him to Grandma's diner. He watched as Doug ate breakfast. Doug then left and Paul followed him to a house on Maple Street. Paul swung into action and made it back into his car just as Doug left. Paul was pretty happy that he had gotten some juicy pictures of Doug and a brunette as they enjoyed each other's company. Doug headed home and didn't leave again until 11:45. Paul got a picture of him greeting a blonde woman with a kiss. He followed them and was surprised when Doug took the woman to his house. Paul managed to get 3 good pictures of the two of them in a sexual embrace. Then while in his car he got a picture of them coming out of the house holding hands and smiling. Paul followed him to where he dropped the woman off, evidently for her to go back to work. Then Doug shocked Paul by stopping at a house on Johnson Drive. Paul managed to get 5 incriminating pictures there, as they never lowered the shades or anything. It was 2 o'clock when Doug came out. Paul figured he had enough for Harriet, so he called her on his cell phone. They arranged for him to come directly to Harriet's office. At her office he downloaded the pictures to her computer. She looked at each and every one of them, then printed 2 sets of them. She gave 1 set to Paul for his records and told him there was no need to follow Doug any further. Paul left and she got to work. She tried to reach Doug at home, but there was no answer. She called his cell phone and he answered right away. She told him she needed him at her office right away. He said he would be there in 5 minutes. He entered her office and she was sitting looking very serious. He sat down in front of her desk and asked what she wanted. She sat quiet for a good 5 minutes. Then she asked, "Can I see your car keys?" He handed her his keys. She said, I am taking them as part payment for what you did. He innocently asked, "What did I do?" She handed him the pictures from Paul. She said, "I have had reports about you that I didn't want to believe, but I had to do something, so I hired a private investigator to follow you." This is what he got just today. What do you have to say for yourself? He leafed through the pictures and his face got red. He knew he was trapped and wondered what she was going to do. Would she divorce him or what? She spoke, "I am keeping your car and I don't want to divorce you, so I'll make you a deal. If you stay true to me for a year, then maybe I'll forget it. If you just once wander, you will wish you were dead. I told you as a warning Friday night, but you didn't listen. Now, if you want to stay married to me, you will agree to do what I want you to do. If after the year you are still an attentive husband, then we may return to normal. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for what you have done. You will have to take your chances. If you are still the man I married after a year, then I hope I can be over it. Do you want to try to save our marriage or not?" He said, "I promise I'll do anything to save our marriage. I am sorry I have hurt you. I will become the husband you married." She told him he would have to take the city bus home after he went down to the next block and saw Deborah Missling. She gave him the address. He left wondering who this Deborah Missling was. He found the address and all he saw was Behavioral Adjustment Institute. He wondered about that, but knew if he wanted to avoid a divorce he had to go in. He entered and was surprised to see a beautiful woman about her mid-20s sitting at a desk. He told her his name and that he wanted to see Deborah. He was shocked when she said, "I am Deborah. I have been expecting you. Your wife called and told me all about you. She wants to help to save your marriage. This place isn't that big, so I have to have my desk out here. Come on back, I'll get you started." As she led him back, he noticed her rear, how it swayed, and he thought about how she would be in bed. She took him in the second door down the hall. She had him sit in a recliner rocker and started to ask him some questions. She asked, "How many girlfriends do you have at present?" He answered, 4, but there is room for more. She told him to just answer the questions. She continued to question him for 15 minutes, writing down the answers. When she finished, she placed a set of earphones over his ears and told him to relax and listen to the music. He reclined the chair and closed his eyes, listening to the music. He saw her leave the room. He didn't notice her return, but suddenly he was reclining and listening to her tell him she would see him tomorrow at 10 a.m. He wondered what was going on but didn't ask. On the way home, for unexplained reasons, he stopped and picked up a half-dozen panties in bright colors and decorated with lots of lace and ruffles. When he got home, he put them in his dresser drawer and went to have an iced tea. After he left, Deborah called Harriet and said, "He is going to be easier than I thought. I started him already. When you get home, see if he has panties in his drawer. If he does and you call him Clarice, he should take on the personality of Clarice. To get him out of it, call him Doogie. I have made Clarice a sexy bimbo who will follow any suggestion you make. Anything you say that starts with I suggest will be like an order for him. He will react to the order whether he is Clarice or Doug. I am seeing him tomorrow at 10 to take him deeper into the program." Harriet said, "I have doubts that he can change, but if your program works, I am sure I will have more customers than you can handle. He is a great lover, but like a dog after sex. It doesn't matter how many times a day he gets hard, he just wants more. That part one don't want to change, I just want him to be faithful to me." Harriet hung up the phone and thought about how far she wanted Deborah to take him. She hated to do it to him, but she would not have him laying anything that wore a skirt. She knew she was being a bitch using this method, but she had warned him and he hadn't listened. When she got home, she checked his drawer and saw the panties. She smiled to herself and thought about how she would have him in them by tomorrow. She thought a man in panties isn't going to drop his pants for any woman. They were eating supper when Harriet said, "Clarice, I suggest you wear your panties every day." "What do you think?" Doug answered, "Oh, yes. I have some real pretty ones. I can't wait to put them on." "Can I put them on after supper?" Harriet said, "Sure you can, but you must wear clothes that go with them, if you have any." "Do you have any?" Doug told her, "No, I don't think so." Harriet said, "Then you must wear only those. I suggest you go see Mrs. Monahan at Fashion Boutique tomorrow and have her help you select some clothes to go with your panties." Doug said he would do that, and Harriet was all smiles. Deborah was right, he was going to be easy to change. She finished supper a very happy woman. After supper she called Mrs. Monahan at home. She said, "Rachel, I have a big favor to ask of you. I am having a problem with Doug and he is going to come in tomorrow for some clothes. I want you to pick the most feminine dresses you have. Do you by any chance have any breast forms? The bigger the better?" "Do you?" Mrs. Monahan answered, "We have a pair that were sent by mistake. But I don't know, they are humongous. The manufacturer then sent the right ones and told us we can keep those. They must be triple Fs and weigh 12 pounds apiece. I can't see anyone wanting to wear something like that." Harriet said, "They sound just like what the doctor ordered. He has an appointment at 10, so he'll probably be in around 11. I think he would look good in a blonde wig, so figure on that." Harriet was reading the paper when she heard Doug come in and sit down. She lowered her paper and looked at him. He was naked except for a pair of coral-colored panties with a lot of lace trim. She suggested he put some lipstick on and told him there was some in the drawer in the bathroom. He got up and left the room. When he returned, he was wearing red lipstick. Harriet couldn't believe such a change was possible in such a short time. Harriet said, "Doogie, you look very nice. Perhaps you should wear lipstick all the time." Doug blushed and wondered why he was wearing lipstick. When he noticed that all he had on was panties, he felt a chill. He told Harriet he was cold. She suggested he put her robe on. She knew it was very loose on her and should fit him. He soon was sitting wearing the robe. As they were going to bed, Harriet said, "Tomorrow before you go to see Deborah, stop by the office." The next day at 9:30 he stopped at her office. She greeted him warmly when she saw he was wearing lipstick. She exchanged small talk with him for 10 minutes, then told him it was time for him to walk to Deborah's. She sent him saying, "Have a good time, Clarice." He left with a sway to his walk and a smile on his face. When he arrived at Deborah's, she was surprised to see him wearing lipstick. She led him into the small room and put the headphones on him. She was totally surprised at how easy he was changing. She left the room and thought about it. Finally she called Harriet and asked, "Do you know if he ever cross-dressed before? He is accepting it so easily, he must have either cross-dressed or been submissive to some woman before. That is the only thing I can think of to explain his fast acceptance of the program. At this rate, tomorrow should finish him as far as I am concerned, but I would like to follow up on his progress. After today, all you have to say is Douglas T for him to remember everything that has happened to him as Doug and as Clarice." Harriet thanked her for the call, and after she hung up she wondered if he had in fact dressed when she wasn't home. She dismissed it after thinking how she never saw any evidence of it. She knew his mother was a strict disciplinarian and she might have dressed him as a girl when he was small. Doug couldn't believe an hour had passed when Deborah told him she would see him tomorrow at 10. He left and headed for the fashion boutique and Mrs. Monahan. She was waiting for him and had some things ready for him. He entered and asked for Mrs. Monahan. The sales clerk pointed her out and he headed toward her. He introduced himself as Clarice and asked if she would help him pick out some clothes. She told him she would be happy to help him. She led him to a dressing room where she told him to strip down to his underpants. He did so without any hesitation. She was surprised to see the panties he was wearing. They were bright yellow with rows of lace trim all around them. She started by attaching the huge breast forms on his chest. Then she measured him for size. She came in with a black long-line bra and helped him put it on. She said, "This is a 48 FFF bra. It should fit fine. This will give you the shape you need." She noticed as she was fastening it that it was pretty tight, but it fit okay. She wondered if she should get a larger size, but he said it felt fine. She handed him an open-bottomed girdle with garters attached. He got it on and she handed him a pair of black mesh stockings. She was surprised at how good he was at putting them on and fastening the garters. She had him step on a shoe sizer to check his shoe size. She left him standing as she got more things for him to try on. She returned with a black dress that had black gauzy sleeves. It had black lace decorating the front. She slid the black slip over his head and then the dress. She slipped a pair of 2-inch heels on his feet, then had him go out to see himself in the mirrors. Then she noticed that she had forgotten his wig. She went and got a blonde wig that was straight style but hung down past his shoulders. When she had it on him and straightened out, he looked very nice. Taking him back into the dressing room, she told him to remove the dress while she got some more. She came back with 3 more. The first one was a pink one with a straight skirt. It had embroidered blue flowers on it, and when he saw himself in the mirror, he was pleased at how it looked. The next one was a blue checked one with little red flowers in the white squares. It had a double ruffle around the bottom and 2 ruffles going up the front on top. He really liked it when he saw himself in the mirror. The next one was a red one with piping that accented his breasts. It had a mini skirt bottom with piping trim. He loved that one. He hated to take it off but had to try some more on. By the time he was finished, he had 10 dresses and 4 slips. She put 6 bras on his ever-growing pile, then some sleepwear. He ended up with 6 pair of shoes, all heels of 2 or 3 inches. When she said he would need some matching purses, he agreed. By the time they were done, he had a large pile of clothes to be delivered that evening. He wore the red dress out of there and carried a red clutch purse. He headed for Harriet's office. Harriet was surprised at how he looked but didn't let him see her surprise. They chatted about small things like 2 girls at a pajama party. Harriet excused herself and left for a few minutes. When she returned, she said, "I just called my beauty parlor. They said they could take you right away. I suggest you get your makeup tattooed on. That way you know you will always look nice." He agreed and left for the beauty parlor. When he got there, the girl asked him if he really wanted the makeup tattooed on. He told her he did. When he left, he had pink eyeshadow and luscious red lips. His eyebrows had been tweezed to a fine line with an arch to them. His fingernails were bright red and extended almost an inch from the ends of his fingers. He carried a cosmetic bag along with his purse. He returned to Harriet's office and had to wait as she was seeing a client. The secretary asked him if he wanted to help her file some papers. He agreed and soon was filing like he was meant to have that job. A half-hour later, Harriet's client left and he entered her office. She couldn't believe his breasts. They stuck out so far and were so big. She was surprised he didn't walk bent over. He told her he'd done some filing for her secretary. When she asked how he liked filing things, he said it wasn't bad. She told him he could go back to filing until it was time to go home. He did and was very happy. When they got home, Harriet noticed he was lost about what to do, so she told him to make supper. He jumped into it and soon they were eating a delicious meal. Harriet thought how she had forgot he was an excellent cook. As they were eating, she asked, "Why did you pick that dress to wear?" He answered, "I think it looks sexy on me. It makes me feel pretty. But the main thing is it feels so good to wear." Harriet thought to herself that whether a man or a woman, he is oversexed. She knew he had to notice the men looking at him. His huge breasts alone would attract their attention. When he got up to get another glass of milk, she noticed that his legs could be a cause for jealousy, as his legs were thin and looked divine for a woman. They were legs a woman would kill for. After supper, as they were reading the paper, Harriet told him she was surprised he didn't get higher heels. He told her he hadn't thought about it. He said he would look tomorrow for some shoes with higher heels. Harriet just smiled when he said that. Then the doorbell rang and it was the dresses and everything else being delivered. Harriet told him to put it all in the closet in the spare bedroom. Then she suggested he pack all of the men's clothes in the main bedroom closet up to give to the charity shop in town. He did that and she heard him humming as he did it. That night he came to bed wearing the most feminine baby doll pajama she had ever seen. She told him he looked lovely in it. He minced and twirled so it flew out around him. She thought, he sure likes to show off. The next day he was at a fetish shoe store and bought 3 pairs of shoes with 6-inch heels. He was wearing the black dress, so he left wearing the black strappy ones. When he left, he just had to show Harriet, and she was all smiles. When he told her that his legs hurt a little, she suggested he see a doctor to see if something could be done to alleviate the pain. Harriet called and the doctor told her she could see him in a half hour. He headed for the doctor's office. He explained to the doctor that his legs ached and that he really wanted to wear the higher heels. He asked her if there was something that could be done. The doctor said, "Yes, we can shorten your tendon, but once we do that, there is no going back. You will always have to wear those higher-heeled shoes or you will have great pain. You will have to walk on your tiptoes when you are barefoot. Are you sure that is what you want done?" He told her, "Yes, I want to wear the higher heels." "When can you do it?" She told him that she could do it in exactly 1 week. She then asked him if there was any other thing he might want done. He asked for any suggestions. She said, "Well, your voice is a little deep. We can work on your vocal cords and give you a more feminine voice. I see you are wearing breast forms. If they are like I think they are, I can remove them and trim the edges and implant them in your chest if I can get the skin to stretch that far." He told her to go ahead. She gave him a pre-op physical right then and everything was set to go. He couldn't wait to tell Harriet. That night as they were going to bed, Harriet said, "Good night, Doogie." During the night he had to get up to go to the bathroom. When he saw himself in the mirror, he was slightly shocked to see his shape and the nightgown he had on. Then he remembered that when he was 9 his mother had dressed him in his older sister's clothes to punish him. He tried to think about what he was being punished for now, but soon thought about something else. The next morning he put the red dress on again. As they were eating breakfast, Harriet asked Clarice if he wanted to do some more filing for her. He agreed and soon they were on their way to work. He had to sit every little while to rest his legs, but he was happy. Saturday they went swimming in their pool. He wore a bikini that Harriet thought his breasts would fall out of, but they didn't. She was just amazed at how he wasn't putting up any fuss whatsoever over the things that were happening to him. She was sure he would ask about his Corvette, but he hadn't. He was so submissive that she wondered if she should have followed a different plan to punish him for his infidelities. The next week he went in for his surgeries. The doctor came into his room and asked him again if he really wanted to go through with all of it. He assured her he did. She told him she would see him after his surgeries. A day after his operations, he was waked up. His chest was bandaged and his throat was sore. They gave him some ice chips to suck on. That helped tremendously. When he was fully awake, the doctor came in. She said everything went well. The breast implant was touch and go. It really took some doing to stretch your skin over the implants, but we made it. You have to leave the wrapping on your chest for 10 days, then you have to wear a forming bra to form the breasts into the shape you want. You must leave the bra on for at least 5 days, then you should be able to wear any bra and your breasts should hold their shape. Tomorrow you can talk, but take it easy. The soreness in your throat should be gone in a few days. Your legs are ready to go. By the time you leave here, we can take the stitches out of your legs. There shouldn't even be a scar there. He was happy to hear everything had gone so well. The doctor was leaving as Harriet came in. She gave him a kiss on the cheek, then told him she had already gotten him the shaper bra. He smiled a thank you when he heard that. She showed him a pair of pink shoes with 6-inch heels that she said he could wear home. He was thrilled when he saw them. The stiletto heel excited him. When it was time to leave the hospital, he was ecstatic to be wearing a pink dress with little birds imprinted on it. It had lace trim decorating all of the openings. When he put the pink heels on, he thought he was the luckiest person alive. When they got home, he was tired, so he lay down and took a nap. Harriet brought him some iced lemonade when he awoke an hour later. She was pleased with his soprano voice. He was very happy with how nice his voice sounded. He did a lot of resting for the next week. He quickly found out how painful it was to walk barefooted. He thought it was a small price to pay to be able to wear the higher heels. Every day he had supper started when Harriet got home. She was really happy with how he was taking care of things. He had even done some cleaning while she was at work. Finally, the day arrived for him to unwrap his chest. He slowly unwrapped it, and when it was completely unwrapped, he looked at himself in the mirror. He was awestruck at how nice his breasts looked. Harriet helped him into the shaper bra. She had gotten him a cone bra so his breasts would be cone-shaped when the bra came off. He dressed completely and was in seventh heaven as he walked around the house. Harriet had called him and told him she would take him out for supper that night. He was thrilled to be able to get out of the house. When she got home, he was dressed in the black dress and ready to go. They went to a fancy steak house and ordered steaks. Harriet had her reasons for wanting to take him for the steaks. She said, "Well, are you happy with everything that has taken place?" He assured her that he was happy. She knew tonight was the night everything was going to be brought out in the open. She said, "Douglas T., I told you if you ever cheated on me I would punish you besides a divorce." He changed expressions and she knew he now realized everything that had happened to him. She watched as he digested all of the changes. She saw his face go from anger to a face she had never seen before. She didn't know what was going through his mind. Finally he said, "I know you said you would punish me, but how did you arrange all of this?" She said, "If you remember, you arranged for the changes. I sent you to the Behavioral Institute. They used subliminal messages, a light drug and suggestions on you. You took it from there. Now, I am going to divorce you. You have choices as to what you want to do. You can move out or stay. If you stay, you can be my maid and possibly help with filing at the office some days. I'll get you uniforms to wear. Or you can try to get a job on your own. I'll help you get new identification if you need it. I warned you, but you didn't listen." He said, "I know I cheated on you and I deserve some punishment, but I never thought you would do something like this. You say you are going to divorce me. I guess I can't blame you. She said, I know I can be very mean and perhaps I went too far. If you think I did, I am sorry. I was so mad at you that I wanted to make sure no woman would consider you again. As soon as you decide what you want to do, let me know. I believe I owe you that much. I will try to help you in any way I can. I just couldn't have a husband who was making love to every available woman in town. He said, I already know what I want. For what it's worth, I don't mind what you did to me. As Clarice, I have had some very enjoyable times. I have only one request of you. Harriet asked, What's that? He took a bite of steak and after he had swallowed it said, Can you get uniforms with short skirts and call me Clarice from now on? She smiled and said, Clarice, yes. It will be wonderful having you work for me.